What is going on, PGA DFS fans? It is Jason Roslin and Drew Matthews back with a Fantasy Golf Bag podcast for the Valero Texas Open. Ton of eyes and ears are going to be tuning into the golf world that don't typically do over the next 10 days. And that just means more and more things to win, or I guess hopefully not lose our money on in the fantasy golf world, Drew. Ton of eyes, obviously, on the Masters next week. But what I like about these weeks are you can play for the biggest dollars next week by doing good this week, winning a couple of those satellites and so on and so forth. So how are you feeling going into this week?
It's I haven't heard a lot of people talk about the field, but it's probably one of the weaker fields of the year for sure. So a little bit of a downer on that regard. And it's obviously not easy when you have Augusta right around the corner, but it's honestly, it's a fun golf course. It is a fun golf course, and there's been some good winners in the past. It's just a matter of trying to make it through one more week and capitalize on some of the qualifiers. Like you said, I've missed out on a couple, have been close, and then missed it out on some of the big Millie Maker cues, and obviously with the Fantasy Golf World Championship coming up too, I need to start focusing on that a little bit as well. But I do like this golf course. It doesn't look like wind or weather is going to be crazy so far, but it's
looks pretty good.
It is what it is. Yeah, I'm surprised to see Ricky Fowler over 10K, first time since 2016 probably.
Yeah, that's awesome.
maybe ever. I mean, I don't know. I'm not sure I've ever seen Ricky over 10.
No, I think he's been 10K before when we first started doing this a long time ago. But good to see him back up there nonetheless. It does mean his game is probably trending in the right direction, which we'll certainly get to. Yeah, I want to bring up the qualifiers there because the more and more people that come into this game, whether they come into it from wherever because they had never heard of it before, they're coming in from the betting side or coming in from the NFT side through Rainmakers now. It's great because you can win a ticket to the $2,222 contest next week. That'll give you $1 million to first for as little as $13 this week. And if you guys don't know how to do it, the easiest way to find it if you're on your phone or on the computer is to go under types of contest and click qualifiers and satellites. That'll filter it out for you, and you'll see these contests as well. You're going up against 200 lineups, roughly, give or take, in that $13 that I mentioned. They also have a 37 and then so on and so forth up to I think like $400, something like that. So check those out if you are looking to try and get into the contest a little bit cheaper and feel good about your lineup this week. And that is certainly what we're going to do here on this podcast, or at least try and help you do. Last week, anything you need to bring up other than Wyndham Clark not quite getting it done, but Matt Wallace getting it done, and Sam Burns caught a really hot putter to beat a hot Cam Young in the finals.
Yeah, it was somewhat not unexpected because all the favorites kind of got through pretty far, but like it's the first time we've seen that happen in a long time, if ever. As far as DFS goes.
I think the biggest upset was Tony Finau, especially going in, 2-0 against Kitayama. All he's got to do is get a half out of the match in advance. But you're right. Honestly, other than that, there were no real surprises. Zalatoris, you and I picked out as the most likely to lose. He ended up withdrawing. I mean, it's sad that match play is gone now because we finally got the year that we were all waiting for.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, that's my thing. I probably have to apologize to Noto because I touted like the putting is so important in match play, and all the ball strikers made it through and the putters struggled. Like Putnam did well, but outside of Putnam, it wasn't great for Danny McCarthy or who was the other putter? Poston did okay. Poston did all right. We talked about him on the podcast last week.
Dude, Poston's match, I tuned in because I knew the way Sungjae and Poston played, it was going to come down to them, and they played their second match. Sungjae had command of the match until 16, and Poston drained a nice birdie to get it back to 1, then 117 and 118 to win the match. Crazy, dude. I don't know if you kept up on that or not.
I didn't. No, I had enough lineups last week. I was trying to just figure out which ones were 6-6s.
Yeah.
I only had a couple out of a good number of lineups, so it was a downer. You get so excited for these that it's like, especially after the first day, the first day of group play, it was looking really good. Like, okay, you got a bunch of 6 wins, right? And then, a tie or someone else or just a loss. And you're like, now what? Now now they're eliminated because the other guy on the flip side, he won 3 straight matches or something. It's ridiculous. So
yeah, I will say, if you're not, if you're building to obviously try and win the $250,000 GPP, you needed to have somebody like JJ Spawn who ended up getting through, obviously. But I did,
but I had a lot of ROM.
Right.
And
you needed to obviously have Spawn with the guys that made the Final Four. But to a greater degree, again, this doesn't matter that much, obviously, because there is no match play, we don't think, next year. But I cashed with getting 3 of 6 through because I had 2 of the Final Four.
Yeah.
Had Cameron Young and Sam Burns, and I think I came in 40th in that $500 contest, the 3-entry max that we had. So again, we're not going to really, dive too deep into match play, even though we love it because we're not going to get it. So
give it to me another week. I'm going to win it.
Yeah.
It just seems so easy. You got all the groups set for yourself. You don't have to overthink it.
Yep.
But yeah, it's fun. It's a fun sweat.
It is. Well, we'll get something for it in the Ryder Cup over the fall. That should be fun. That's a pretty good event. So, all right, let's move on to the Valero Texas. Tough course off the tee. Not just distance, but there are some holes that you need accuracy as well. But the rough isn't very penal. So where's the distinction there, right, Drew? That's kind of my first question to you is it's tough off the tee, but if you miss in the right spots, you're totally fine.
Yeah, you have to miss the rough and then you're in bad spots. The rough itself isn't terrible. But yeah, it's really interesting. I think people are going about it different ways. For me personally, when I started looking through some of the numbers, the driving distance on this course is up there with the tour average. So these guys aren't trying to hit a lot of fairways by laying back. The driving accuracy number is lower than the tour average. So yeah, it's harder to hit the fairways, but the other flip side is it's also really hard to hit the green. So guys are just trying to get driver down there, try to keep it in play. You just got to play well.
Yeah.
It's not super low scoring. So I think really you need good drivers. I do think distance helps, generally off the tee on this golf course, I think will help. And we've seen a combination of that. I don't want to say total driving, but if you think about Corey Connors, he's the prototypical, I'm going to hit it straight, I'm going to hit it pretty far or just slightly above average.
Yep.
And that just gives them an opportunity for all the greens in regulation, which is the only way you can get around here because it's not easy to scramble. There's a lot of runoffs. They're going to be tightly mown. It's tough. So we should see a winning score, low teens, probably 10 to 13 under par, I'm guessing. I think in the past we've seen it close to high teens. I think Spieth won here at 20.
Yep,
or no, 18.
20. Yep.
So I think as long as there's not a lot of wind, they can get it done. But the field is a little bit weaker than, in my opinion, at least, than what we've seen some of those years. As guys got ready for Augusta, it doesn't seem like they're doing that as much.
No, especially again, we don't know what the schedule is going to look like next year, but especially with match play there, everybody that needed to get their reps basically did, other than the guys that I'm concerned about. Well, Zalatoris being one of them. Let me just go back to a point that you said. It's tough around the green here, right? We know that this course has, over the last couple of years since taking the spot, all of the Masters tried to mimic what the players might see the next week, right? And it makes around the green here very difficult. So when you look at a player, say Will Gordon, right, who's ranked 170th strokes gained around the green this season on tour, and obviously is not greater in that category, or at least statistically speaking, do you think it makes it easier for them to lose less strokes or therefore maybe even gain strokes against the field because it's so much harder for everybody else? It seems like maybe he struggles where other people can, excel where it's a little easier. I guess what I'm asking is, if it's harder, does that make the field more condensed in terms of strokes gained and lost?
In general, that usually does. I would take the putting analogy there. If it's tough for everybody, then the worst putters are probably going to have an equalizing opportunity there. So yeah, you could have a couple guys excel. They're not going to crush the field. So yeah, I think because it's more difficult, then that takes a little bit of pressure off of them. The other flip side, though, I will say, is if they do have a hole in their game, they're going to have a lot of tests around the green. So it's kind of a give and take. I think for putting, I think that's 100% true. The tougher the greens are to putt, guys are going to condense to a certain, strokes gain range.
Mm-hmm.
I do think around the green, there's just a little bit more caveats to it, and for a lot of different reasons. But I'll agree to your point in a general sense that's right. I think it does provide some type of breathing room that they know that they don't have to go shoot 7 or 6 under par every day. So they don't have to get up and down every single time.
But that's not to say that Will Gordon, who I just brought up, will not make an 8 because it's very difficult around the green here, and he hits 5 around the green. So let's just be clear about that. But if he has a statistically normal week in that category, he'll be closer to the field average than he normally is. I think that's what I was trying to get at. But yes.
No, I mean that's true. That's definitely true.
Yep. But there's definitely that option. I just envision, Justin Suss not playing in this event, thankfully, because he would be one where I'd be like, yeah, you can chalk him up for a double or worse because of the around the green problems. But he's not playing. So anyways, okay, let's talk about a couple of golfers now we've already mentioned already, but this course takes a lot of approaches from that, I'll say 210, 220 to 250 plus range because of its length. The par 5s all reachable, but they're all going to give you about 250 plus. Found some guys' names that I think are interesting there. Austin Eckroat finally had a good week down in Corrales. I'm willing to stay there. Cam Davis is, I think, maybe finally ready to break out. Could be a potential guy that, to sneak in for a victory even. Finally likes golf again. And then let's see. How about Ryan Palmer? Play him in Texas, I guess. That's the theory. Yeah. There's 4 names. I'll let you run with those for a minute.
Yeah, Ryan Palmer's come up a couple times. I think I have the old the old narrative that if there's no water, then you play Ryan Palmer.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Generally speaking, I think he's had a decent run at Sony, but he's the few times I've ever watched him at Sony, he's hit it in the water, believe it or not, on one of the holes, and there can't be that many out there. But yeah, to your point, I think you're spot on with the ranges. I have a lot just in the high, 150 to 200 that I'm looking at. So it's not too surprising. I think Ben Martin, Alex Small, you brought up, Robbie Shelton. And I think it's interesting this week if you think of it from a sense of the golf course being super demanding. So obviously missing greens is going to be happening for everybody. And scrambling is also going to be pretty difficult. I think just taking a broad brush, especially with this field of tee to green, is going to get you in a pretty good spot. People can skin a cat different ways. If it's not going to be overly long, you don't have to really bomb it like Sanderson or something. They're going to do pretty well here. And I think you can encapsulate a lot of that through strokes gained tee to green. So I think for some people, man, it might just be simplifying their process this week and seeing who are the best guys just getting to the green in the fewest shots relative to the field over however many rounds, especially in this field. That's what I keep gravitating to. I'm not too tied up with the approaches because it does look like there can be a pretty significant range. Like for me, I have the Super Proc sheet up, so this is just more of a talking point. But like for Robbie Shelton, and he's played here quite a few times, I think. A couple times at least.
He had that Corn Ferry Tour event that he played in the COVID year, and he, probably played here a couple times on the PGA. Yep.
Well, also, yeah. So I don't have the Corn Ferry data in here, but like just between him and Smalley, we'll say, he's got 36% of his shots from 150 to 175. Smalley only has 21% of his shots 150 to 175. So that can obviously vary dramatically depending on the weather. Yep. And some of that could be skewed because of the weather, where they played a severe headwind or downwind on certain holes and they kind of get bucketed up. So that's all to say. I think I'm taking a pretty general approach this week. Yeah, I really like the tee to green aspect. Obviously, I think off the tee is kind of under the radar in a sense. Everyone loves hitting approaches when the greens and regulation are tough, but I think you have to set it up. I really do think you have to work away from the green here, and tee shots are going to be vital.
Yeah, as long as you're not too wild. Again, I think distance is a benefactor here. I would lean toward your more bombers in this scenario. Again, I'm not going to say that they're going to come out and win. We're not just trying to pick the winner. We're also trying to pick 5 guys around them that are going to perform well. One guy I want to bring up in terms of greens and regulation, just kind of piggybacking off of that. So I had a career best PGA Tour finish a couple of weeks ago in his new home of Jacksonville at the Players. It's Aaron Rice, 7,900, tremendous talent. Throw him in with the Nikolai Højgaard, who's getting a start here because of his second place at Corrales last week. And we have got some DP World Tour talent that you and I know have been following for years. It's great to see them come through. I hope Rasmus joins Nikolai. I think these guys are great players, and I'd love to see them on the PGA Tour full time. And it looks like we're getting it.
Yeah, they're the next generation for sure. He's very hot and cold on the European Tour, so he's going to have to clean up some things to be a mainstay on the PGA Tour. But the talent's there. I mean, he's hitting at like 340. Some of those over there, he's hitting like 360. So he obviously can murder it. But I think Rye is definitely in play. He's probably one of my favorites. There's a couple. I think Will Gordon is absurdly cheap.
Yeah, 7,200 there.
It just seems like a bad price, right? At least to me. So
agreed.
Again, I think you're spot on. Like looking at like our weighted green and regulation number, if you just take a broad approach to this week, I think you're going to land on a lot of good plays, and then it's just a matter of getting the right player pool matched up with the right 6 guys in the right lineup. But yeah. I mean, you're spot on. Just sorting by that, you're getting Rye, Straka, Will Gordon, Joseph Bramlett, Hickok, who's been playing well, and Terrell Hatton's up there, so that can't be awful. So I really do like that.
Let me bring up another name since we're talking about DP World Tour. Maybe the biggest standout that really hasn't come over here that much, that finally has over the last couple of weeks, is Ryan Fox. He looks good at the match play last week. He's going to keep pounding starts here in the next couple of weeks, and he could get his STM, special temporary membership, and we could see a lot of him. I love this guy's swing. I mean, he's a big, rugged guy, and he can move the ball. Again, I hate to sound like a DP World Tour stan, but these are maybe like the 5 guys that, I said to myself, a year or two ago that I'm like, yeah, these guys could compete on the PGA Tour regularly if they did it. And now we're seeing it happen.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to look it up really quick. I think he had, this is last year on the European Tour, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 top 4s. Yeah. 8 top 4s last year. I mean, the dude, great. Yeah, I mean, it's still the European Tour, but that's impressive. I mean, you're beating a lot of guys. So, yeah, I do like him this week. And it's,
Rahm and such played in them. They may have won them, but they still, the field wasn't like it was this past weekend, let's say, over on the European Tour. So,
yeah, but his prospect is good. He's a great driver. And if you look at his numbers, I mean, everything looks pretty good. T14 at Arnold Palmer, which is a great test. Tee to green. The player's obviously a great test, tee to green. And those are two styles of play where you really have to get it and play off the tee. Yeah, I think Fox is a good option.
Let's talk about Matt Kuchar for a second. 9,200, certainly, in my opinion, has had a resurgence in his game. Looks like he's gained a little speed off the tee. His distance numbers certainly look much better than they have in years past, where they were dropping tremendously. But I'll be honest, I was ready to write this guy off. I think I've said it on this very podcast a couple of times this year. I was ready to write him off. I don't think so now. He makes the cut every year here. Now, I would rather go with the Ricky Fowler will make it to Augusta over Matt Kuchar, but still, I think Kuchar deserves a couple of spots in lineups this week. Are you clicking that name, or is it just me here on this panel?
No, I do. I felt like I was the only guy clicking them this week. Everyone's going up to Ricky, like you said, and Hatton obviously going to get some ownership.
I'm fading Ty Hatton, just want to be clear.
That's fair.
The big reason is I believe Corey Connors is playing better. I think we've seen the pinnacle of Hatton's form in this little blip, and I think Corey Connors is going the other way. I mean, if he closes out Cam Young last week, he could have made it to the Final Four, and now we're talking about him as an overwhelming favorite this week if that was the case.
Yeah, to be fair, I have not looked into what his hand injury was or if it even was a hand injury. He just wanted to exit early. I mean, with Augusta around the corner, it's probably not something I really want to mess with. Corey Connors obviously playing great. I think we saw not to diverge too much. So yes, Matt Kuchar definitely in play. I love him this week. Course history. He's a course history guy, and this is his course history. Yep. Even when he's been playing bad, he would show up here and lock it in. And Ryan Palmer's kind of in that same. What's that?
Yeah, he would show up here with no form and still throw up a top 25.
Exactly. So I mean, everyone's got their own course history somewhere, and Kuchar definitely seems like he's got it here. We still have like good residual stats for Chris Kirk, but I still think Kuchar's course history trumps it for me. I think a funny one, I don't know if you saw this on Twitter or maybe just the golf last week, but did you see Taylor Montgomery's playoff shot?
Oh, dude, I did see it on Twitter, and I I don't think I've seen something as bad since Kevin Na. You remember when Na was going through that phase?
Yeah, he had he couldn't take it back.
Triggered
I don't think he's got the yips. I think I think we've seen his ball striking is really not that good. I mean, we've talked about his putter saving him, but it's fine when you're getting it around okay, and then the putter's making 30 footers. But that was like, to me, wow, this guy really doesn't have it tee to green. So on a course like this, I'm really afraid of Taylor Montgomery.
I think you and I said a couple of weeks ago when we were talking about Montgomery that he's a player that is going to continually cash checks on the PGA Tour because he's a great putter, right? We've seen it. When Spieth wasn't a good tee to green player like he is now, he would survive by his putting. Montgomery might be a better putter than Spieth, and he can also hit the ball 350 yards when he wants to. Now, when he gets into contention, if you look at all of his finishes, none of them really came from first page leaderboard going into Sunday. It was all a good Sunday move. Yeah. I think when he gets into contention, he is going to struggle mightily with that golf swing, truthfully. So, yeah, that's and
it looks just like DJ. His swing is like DJ too. I don't know if anyone listening has seen his swing, but like when I watched it, I was
except
like,
for that one. Yeah,
that one. I mean, the result was not like DJ, but the swing looks similar to the same type of move.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think again, I got burned by him on one of these courses where ball striking was important. Was it maybe Valspar? I can't remember which one it was. Might have been the Players. But I'm out on Taylor Montgomery. I mean, that was straight awful. And these guys all hit bad shots, but chunking your 3-wood 120 yards is very hard to do.
Yeah. No, that's no.
I mean, if you chunked it, you'd probably still go 200 yards. So 120 is
listen. I should be making fun of him because I won my flight with my member this past weekend, and in the shootout, all you got to do is hit a 180-yard shot into like a 25-yard fairway, and I hit a 195-yard shot into the right fucking trees. Excuse my language. And I gave my partner no shot to the green. You played my course. It's the first hole where you have to hit something like 190. There's a creek and woods everywhere, and I hit it in the right trees, of course. So I'm still having nightmares about that. I'm sure Taylor Montgomery is having nightmares about his 3-wood in the playoff there. Hopefully it doesn't carry over. I think he's a pretty good prospect, but at 9,900, nope. I'll go up to Corey Connors, who I think is going to win this week.
Love it.
I think is going to win, and then I hope Ricky wins, right? I think Corey's going to win, but I hope Ricky does win. Let's talk about Ricky for a second because we haven't yet. Let's talk about the course fit. We all want him to win, or most people in the golfing world, I guess, want him to win. But let's talk about the course fit for a second if you've got anything on him there.
I mean, just based on his recent form, like, he's been gaining a lot of strokes on approach. Off the tee has kind of been hit or miss. So that I'm probably lower on Fowler than you are, and I certainly the other people that I've heard. He's got pretty good course history, but it's not like crazy great. But I know the narrative is to get into Augusta. He's obviously trending in the right direction, so I'm not denying that. But I think I'm with you on Connors. Fowler just seems like a little bit of a stretch for me to get to where he's at. And I know I'm in the minority there, especially on this particular podcast. But I think he's definitely playing well. But I think off the tee is going to be pretty important for a win, at least. And he's got to win at the race, and that's probably my main concern.
Yeah. Looking up.
You don't have to throw stuff. I can.
Yeah, I was holding a pen and it just flipped out of my hand as I went to go try and look up his name.
It sounded like you punched a TV. No, I mean he's totally fine. He's obviously one of the best players here.
Our listeners are going to hate me for that. Don't close to my mic. Oh my gosh. Ricky Fowler. All right, I just want to look up his course history. I thought it was 2 top 20s, and it is 2 top 20s and a miscut. But last year, clearly not the same golfer that he is this year.
But I mean, look at Matt Kuchar's course history.
Right. 2, 12, 7. Yeah, I mean, it's incredible. Yeah,
there's a lot of upside.
Yeah, there is.
And I always view course history in that lens. Like if you make a cut every year at a golf course, that doesn't tell me the full story. But if you show me like, yeah, I finished dead last after the cut or missed the cut, but then I finished 10th, 4 out of 5 years or inside top 10, 4 out of 5 years, that's course history to me. Yeah. So I love seeing that with Kuchar, and I'm sure we'll get some regression this year after we're talking it into existence. But yeah, I mean, it's really tough for me to get up to Fowler. I don't have enough conviction yet.
Okay. my top mid-range play, we'll call it, say, the 9,000 range. We already talked about Ryan Fox. So I'll let you go from Siwoo Kim all the way down to the 8,000 range. I mentioned Cam Davis, but playing just as much, if not a little bit more than Cam Davis, it's JJ Spawn. I think this guy is a form golfer. I think that we went through a little bit of a stretch there through the players and Arnold Palmer where he was in the bad wave. He does struggle in the wind. He just has never played well. But here's a guy when he's in form. I mean, you run through the the Mayakoba tournament, T15, T15, T5, T12 through the Sony Open. I mean, that's kind of the form he gets in. He's kind of a better Ches Reavie, in my opinion. And I think we saw a breakout last week at the WGC. He looked really good in group stage. So I'm going to go back to him, 8,900. I think he's great value this week.
Yeah, I like Spawn. I don't know if I played him last week because he was just so cheap and it's hard to avoid it, or if it was a sharp play on my behalf. But I'll take the credit. I think Spawn is a good.
It was a very sharp play. Maybe the sharpest play. Honestly, though, it was maybe the sharpest play on the slate. He was min price, and you needed to have him. And you were golden, basically.
Yeah, it's funny though when you start playing those guys and they go, and then you get bumped up to Rom and some other high price guy.
That was the problem. Rom was out. Rom and Zalatoris were the big guys that messed up a ton of lineups there. For sure.
Yeah. So I mean, like once you play him, I think the optimizer's like playing him just to jam Ramen.
Yeah.
So in this range, I mean, all these guys are kind of in play. Like I kind of brushed over Kirk. Kirk's form looks fantastic, and he actually has similar Kuchar course history. So I'm very tempted. It's just
I would think he's in my list of an eye to next week though, because he hasn't played there in so long, if I'm not mistaken, right? And
Augusta, I'm sure it's been a while.
He's a Georgia guy. He's one of those, like, if I'm one shot to the cut coming down Friday, I don't know if these guys do that or not, but it just seems to me it's like, all right, if we're in contention, we're playing. If we're not in contention, might be an early weekend. I have no idea if that's true, but that's kind of
depends.
Yeah,
depends on
kind
the
of
guy,
where my mindset is.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's definitely true. You could kind of see that when McIlroy gets outside the cut. And I made that joke at the players. Like, do you really think he's going to be excited to come show up on Saturday if he's 18 shots back of the lead and say, I'm doing it for the fans? There's no way.
And it's Scotty Scheffler, not like, Minwoo I knew was up there, but.
Yeah, some guys just seem nice about it. Like, I don't know. Scheffler seems like the guy, like, he's 2 shots outside the cut, and he's like, I want to make the cut. I don't know. He just seems like the kind of guy that he's just going through the rhythms, and he's like, or he accidentally makes the cut. Who knows? Yeah, so he's 2 shots out of the lead, and he's like, oh, dang, now I have to go play this weekend. So
I guess my theory is Siwoo Kim and Chris Kirk I'm throwing into that bucket. So I'm you can't play everybody, right? And it's not like I'm going to have 0. I'm going to make about 150 lineups this week. I have some Siwoo Kim and Chris Kirk on the Rainmakers already, so it's not like I'm not going to play them. But I would rather click JJ Spawn's name, or even going down to Matt Wallace, who we saw battle Spieth a couple of years ago in the final group here. He's not qualified for Augusta based on the win last week, I don't believe. I'm pretty sure alternate field events are not getting it this year, but I think they may be getting it next year. I'm not sure. Still, I think that he still has plenty of motivation to go out and maybe win again this week. Certainly playing well.
He is. No real issues with Matt Wallace. I mean, his accuracy off the tee is not the best, and we don't have much data from last week. So it's really just looking through that. It's thin, I think. Like a little bit cheaper, I would probably be pretty excited to play him. But his irons have been good.
Rather go Højgaard and Rye over.
I like that. I like Rye quite a bit. And even in that range, I mean, I'm tempted to go to Davis if no one's going to jump to him.
I will, for sure.
Decent form at the Players. He said he was 6, so I'll buy into that a little bit.
Definitely. How about Thomas Dietrich? Guy drives the ball so well, but kind of maybe the only thing he's good at. No, I shouldn't say that. He's decent around the green and on the green as well. Just not great with his irons.
I think some of the European guys are just streaky in that way. Like, it just. Okay. Yeah. I mean, I think. Like even Fox can be super good, and the next week or whatever course it just doesn't fit him, or he gets off to a bad start. They're just a little bit more volatile. So I think Dietrich's at that point, at least from the limited amount of time I've followed him.
Yeah, so play him.
Yeah, definitely. So I think the 7K range is really loaded. I mentioned Will Gordon being excessively too cheap. I don't know. To me, it just seems like a number that stood out as soon as I looked it up. Like I thought it was a typo on my fault. So Alex Smalley's there. Love Alex Smalley. I think Nick Taylor's a good price.
Shot maker right there for sure. He's been playing great this season.
Yeah, I think this whole range is good. I mean, I've been playing a lot of Robbie Shelton.
Me too.
He's been hit or miss. He does not play very well. Ben on, perfect. Yeah, Ben on's another one. I think he actually has good course history. I could be wrong on that.
Yeah, top 10 a couple of years ago here.
Yeah, so as far as like ball striking, he's like paramount for playing well.
Tee to green too. I think he's maybe like top 5 in strokes gained around the green this season.
That's impressive. That's probably why he's playing a little better.
Yeah, Siwoo Kim does have some really good course history, but I guess at 9,700, I'm okay fading him as his top finish being 4th place. You know what I mean? Like I'm okay with that. That doesn't scare me all that much. I know he's made the cut 5 straight years here, but still, only one top 5, and as 9,700, I'm okay going there. Just a name that I glanced over when I was looking at stuff. Okay, a couple of other names in this 7K or below range. I mentioned Austin Eckroat. Neither you or I love his golf swing, but we know how streaky these young golfers can get. I'm going to Eckroat. I'm sticking with Batia until he wins on the PGA Tour. That could be this week. Who knows? And Pearson Coody. Dude, I don't even want to talk about the Valspar miscut there because it just killed me. I had such a good lineup. He was right on the cut. So not all missed cuts are made equal or missed equal, depending on which way you want to look at it. And for me, I'm going back to him. I think a difficult course suits him well. If I looked at the wins that he's won on the Korn Ferry Tour, each of those have been not 65 under par like some of the other events there. So I'm going to him, and Doug Gim has shown a little bit of form here in the last 2 weeks. I'll have a little of him. And then Michael Kim. Not only has Michael Kim been playing well, 3 straight made cuts with a top 10 last week, but he's also been very vocal on Twitter. Not last week, sorry, Puerto Rico. But still, 3 straight made cuts. Those are a couple of names at 7K and below for me that I'll be clicking. I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, there's not a ton of guys. Like I really easily filter. First thing like on the cheap guys is just like, are they hitting at least the field average on greens and regulation? There's not many guys that are doing that.
Yeah.
One is surprisingly Kevin Tway, and the other is Russell Knox. But I'm completely fading Russell Knox for the rest of my life. I think he just does not get it done, even though he pops for whatever reason. I think a couple interesting ones though that are down here. Augusto Nunez is a guy that's been popping up a lot, and I haven't played him a ton. He's at 6,700. I think he's interesting. Vincent Norman, he went to Oklahoma State with Matthew Wolff.
Okay.
I think he had a good finish on the Korn Ferry Tour. I think he had a win recently, if I'm not mistaken.
Who's this, Norman?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he did.
Look,
check. Just kidding. He had a T21 at Puerto Rico Open. He might have been close in contention. He had T16 last week. So
that's pretty solid form. Yeah, that's a name that I didn't think about all that much, but I like.
He doesn't have a lot of good data to use. Like he hasn't had a lot of good finishes where we do track it. But I remember his name popped up a couple of times. So I looked into it. It's not terrible. I don't think.
Let me throw a pack of 5 guys that have combined missed like 0 cuts here in the last 20 starts. I know this is crazy, but Dylan Fratelli, he's 3 for 3. Ben Martin, 4 for 4. Kevin Streelman, 5 for 5. Martin Laird, 5 for 5. Throw out Mateus Schwab, who's 1 for 1. Any of those names do you like on the course history angle alone this week? Any that you can get clicking? Let's put it that way.
Yep. Ben Martin.
Ben, playing good golf.
Yeah, he is. TA last week, and actually some of his stats look pretty good back through February. So Ben Martin, I think, is an interesting one. He's not going to be very long, but he's going to hit it straight. He shouldn't make a bunch of doubles or hopefully not so many bogeys. But
playing good golf, right? I would say kind of one of the surprises of the season.
For sure, yeah.
We look at his FedEx rank. I think he's in the top 50 now.
Yeah, definitely. He's really had some good finishes.
Yep.
Have a couple top 10s that'll do it for you. So,
for sure.
Yeah, I mean, there's like I said, the 7Ks is loaded. So that's probably the main reason why I'm not touching too many guys over 10K. I think it's not really a balanced build when I, have only one guy in 9s. But I think there's a lot of 7s that have win potential or top 10 potential. And that's kind of what I want to litter it with. So
yeah, let's talk about Hideki Matsuyama for I only need 4 seconds because I'm not playing it. There's no need for me to. Yeah, there's no need for me to. Now, even if he's 5% owned, maybe I'll have him in a lineup or two, but I'm not putting him in anything important. I think he's way more of a withdrawal risk than he is the top 10.
For sure, yeah. There's no point. He's just off limits for a different reason than Montgomery. But yeah, a lot of these guys are just not there. I think Corey Connors will probably just be my highest owned up here over 9K, and it's
100%.
A lot of reasons. I mean, good form, good course fit, and good course history, and that adds up for me.
Totally agree. Okay, I think we've covered a good amount of names. MJ Duffy and Sam Stevens are two guys that played well last week down in Corrales that did also have good performances in that Corn Ferry Tour event that was held here. That was also won by Davis Riley, a guy that you and I are definitely high on, but took Scotty Scheffler to 18, but a premium price. He was probably the one that I was like, wow, he's kind of seems overpriced. He hasn't gotten a top 10 this year. Why are we at 9,500 here for Davis Riley?
I mean, I assume a lot has to do with Vegas, and he's trending back to where like his 2022 into the season.
It is trending. I don't disagree. Yeah, I'm with you there. It just seems like, I don't know, defending champion JJ seems to be playing good, and we got $600 cheaper. Go down to Spawn.
Yeah, you could pretty much rattle off all these names like Siwoo Kim, Chris Kirk, and then you see Davis Riley. And does that make sense? No, it doesn't. So yeah, I agree with you. I'll probably be clicking his name. I'm not scared off of the price. I think he's just going in the right direction. I think he has enough win equity to pay it off, especially if a lot of these 9K plus guys fail, which we haven't really talked about it, and a lot of it's wind driven. But this course does have a lot of chaos.
It does.
You know, guys make a double bogey coming in, or they'd have to birdie 18, which is a par 5, and they don't do it. So it's
Luke Glover in play for you?
No, not as of now.
Yeah, 18, 4, and 14 in the last 3 years here. So just wanted to bring up the course.
I mean, it's got to merge a little bit with form, and I have not seen it, or at least nothing pop for me.
Yeah, no, it's got to match up.
Because even
Kevin Chapman, who is there if you really want to dive deep.
Yeah. I brought up the Matt Kuchar, like he's played well here even with poor form. I still didn't play him on the years when he had poor form. It's just like I don't know, I'm trying to catch a falling knife, and it just happens to be a great course for him. So
all right, you ready for my poor form play of the week? I think that's an interesting point.
Yeah.
A guy that I think in the next 2 weeks is going to make the cut. And yeah, I know that sounds, Jason, that's not a big deal to make the cut. Well, he's only made 2 out of 10 this year. It's Cam Champ. But here's a guy that we know can have zero semblance of form, catch a hot putter, hit the ball 700 yards in the middle of the fairway, and all of a sudden win. This is a field that he can do it against, and this is a course that if both of those things are working, he could maybe do it on. He's also in the field next week because of a top 12 at Augusta next week. He's done very well there. So I know it's weird, but from a Rainmaker's perspective, I'm actually buying. I know we don't talk a lot about that on the show, but from a Rainmaker's perspective, I'm buying because he's really cheap and he's going to play at minimum the next 3 weeks because there's the RBC right after, which is, an elevated event. So I think we get a top 20 finish out of Cam Champ here in the next couple of weeks.
Okay.
It's kind of my fire take of the week, my poor form play of the week. Do you have any poor form plays of the week that you want to get going again?
He's more iffy than poor form. Like definitely not that poor form.
Yeah. 2 attempts.
So, so Eric Van Rooyen I like quite a bit this week. He's just so hot.
He's not going to be Van ruining my lineups yet. No. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, some people hate him, but I think he's coming off some good finishes. And he's played well at this course. So he's second in tee to green at the Valspar. Again, I think there's enough upside at his price. Like I said, you could probably leave a lot of salary on the table and possibly get lucky in the 7K range, because I could very well see a winner coming in the 7K range.
Yeah, if it's not
probably more so than the 8K range. Not the bash on JJ Spawn, but I mean, honestly, there's not a lot that pops out to me in the 8Ks. The 7Ks look like that's a Valero leaderboard list to me.
Yeah, honestly, I could see Aaron Rai being right there come Sunday. So, all right, we've done this for about 40 minutes. That's where we like to keep it. I think everybody knows where we're going in terms of our plays. Certainly, if you're going Corey Connors, Ricky Fowler, you've got to throw in Will Gordon. I think Drew and I have both pounded the table on that one. It's silly not to. If you're looking at other types of cores, Matt Kuchar, JJ Spawn, Cam Davis, that's a little bit less aggressive and fading all the 10K guys like you and I talked about. That's the route I would go. Maybe even throw in Davis Riley instead of Matt Kuchar for maybe a little bit more upside. Although Kuchar, like we've said, has had upside at this course. So that I think we'll do it. We'll end it as we always do with who we think is going to win. I do think Corey Connors is going to win this week. What I saw last week of him playing against maybe one of the hottest golfers on tour right now, and Cameron Young, taking him all the way to the end, was enough for me to say he will take down this field this week, something he's already done at this course. So that's how I'll do it, and we'll see you at the Masters next week, obviously. But before we get on out, let's get your winner. Maybe you're going to agree with me or go somewhere else. I'm guessing it's not Ricky Fowler, though.
It's not Ricky Fowler. I do agree with Corey Connors, but to give you just one other name, I think Kuchar could be the guy this week.
Oh, man,
just be like under the radar, finishing it off.
Oh, man.
So,
stealing it from Ricky. Imagine if it's Kuchar against Ricky on Sunday, too, for that. Oh, man.
Perfect. Probably be better TV than you've seen. Everyone tunes in.
Honestly, it may be one of the highest-rated PGA Tour things of the season if it's that. Those namesakes. So
be better than Corey Connors and Siwoo Kim for sure.
Yeah.
Well, Siwoo Kim's probably a bad example. The Korean audience would join in. Let's say Corey Connors and Taylor Montgomery.
Yeah. Oh,
the Canadian audience.
People might chime in just to see if Taylor Montgomery can keep it together there in the last 3 holes.
It was terrible, but.
Yeah, I do hope he cleans it up. We never want to see that. We're not making fun of it. It's just it is difficult.
Surprising to see at that level.
Yeah.
Guys hit bad shots all the time. I rarely see a 120-yard 3-wood.
Yeah. Yeah. Come out and play with me, and you might see a couple of more. All right. Well, until next week, everybody, we're going to have some great stuff going on. Of course, stay with us. Join us on fantasygolfbag.com. We're going to be having a Masters deal. So if you're not already a subscriber, stay tuned for that. In the next couple of days, we'll be getting it out there so that you can see it and join us for a couple of weeks. Also, join me on the Underdog Streets. Contest is about halfway full, I would say. 100K to first over on Underdog for the best ball for majors only. I'm having a ton of fun. I love the lineups that I got going into it. Use promo code GolfBag over there. If you're doing your first deposit, you'll get up to $100 match. And of course, check out my Rainmakers content if you're just getting into that. So much going on in the fantasy golf and golf betting world. It is very welcomed and loved here. So until next week, everybody. Good luck this week at the Valero, and we will see you for the Masters. Cheers, everybody.